Welcome, friends and family, into a Wednesday edition of Bet. I'm Tyler Fulghum. She is the homegirl, Anita Marks. And what a menu we have cooked up for you here on Hump Day Wednesday. We have Hall of Famer Tim Kurkjian joining us to discuss what just happened at the MLB trade deadline and the season going forward. Speaking of the season, the NFL season, and at least a way to gamble, it officially starts tomorrow with the Hall of Fame game. We'll dive into that, Jags and the Raiders. It's Wednesday, which means we have a golf tournament starting Thursday, which means we have par 3 today as well. ESPN's YouTube channel is what you need to be subscribing to if you're watching there now. We appreciate you. If you haven't figured out what it is, well, go to youtube.com/ESPN Sports Betting. And not only will you get a platform to watch this wonderful show, but you'll get so much more wagering content that will help you fatten your wallets with these pretty faces here at ESPN. Anita, we are ready to rock and roll. We're going to get things kick-started with a game of the good word. You know the drill. I'm going to read a statement. You tell me the first word that pops into that beautiful and intelligent head of yours. Let's start in the NFL. Now, everyone loves a home dog, right, Anita? Well, in week 1 of this season, including the Thursday night opening kickoff game with the Rams hosting the Bills, there are 10 home underdogs week 1 of the NFL season. What's your good word for that?
What? No, that's not my good word. My good word is three. Three, because there's 3 dogs that I really like, and I will break them down for you. Number 1 is the Vikings getting the points at home against the Green Bay Packers. We know Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, for whatever reason, they start slow. They don't have Devontae Adams. I'm sure that we're going to hear from Aaron Rodgers telling us to relax. But nonetheless, love the Vikings week 1. Also, I like Dallas getting the points against the Bucs. We've been talking about it all week. I think the loss of Ryan Jensen at the center spot for Tom Brady is really going to do not a lot for him. And I think Parsons is going to pin his ears back, and I think he's going to have a field day against Tom Brady. And last but not least, I know you're going to disagree with me here, but I love the Bears at home getting the points with Trey Lance, his first official start as the starting quarterback for the 49ers on the road in Chicago. So those are the 3 games I'm looking at that I like the home dogs.
Yeah, definitely disagree with you on that Niners-Bears. We can discuss that at a later date. But my word is bark. And it's similar to you, Anita. I say there's a lot of bark and not a lot of bite because there's only 2 home underdogs that I'm willing to back in week 1. Surprisingly, none of them, neither, are any of the 3 that you mentioned. I like backing the Rams +1 against the Bills, and I like backing the Lions +4 versus the Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh, no.
Sean McVay and his NFL career is 5-0 straight up and 5-0 ATS in week 1s. Whoever is the underdog in that Thursday night matchup is who I'm going to bet on. If it's the Bills, I'll bet on the Bills. Now that it's the Rams, I'm going to bet on the Rams, and I will illustrate my confidence in my squad with that stat that Sean McVay is perfect ATS and straight up week 1 in his NFL career. And then the Lions, they were so tough to beat at home last year. They got better. Second year of Dan Campbell. I know the Eagles are probably the team that wins the NFC East, but that's not a great division. I think the Lions' first home game, jam-packed crowd, can cover at least 4 points, if not win that game outright in week 1. Let's move to Major League Baseball now. I just talked about my Rams. How about my Cardinals? Oh, Paulie Goldschmidt is the odds-on favorite to win NL MVP at -125. What's your good word for Goldie?
I spent too much time today thinking of a word, and all I came up with was golden. I know, it's so boring, but I mean, dude's been balling. 24 home runs, 77 RBIs. He's not slowing down. And let me tell you something, he's not slowing down tonight either, Tyler. He has owned Keegan Thompson. He's got 2 home runs on him already. I'm going to put some money down that he'll hit another home run to 25 tonight. And he's top 5 in the majority of categories. Batting average, on base percentage, slugging, blah, 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 blah. So, man, golden. Run to that window right now.
Very wildly creative from my girl, Anita Marks there. Sometimes, sometimes the most obvious word is the best word. I'm going to say spot, okay? As in the only spot on his resume, Anita, is the fact that at this second, the Cardinals are not technically a playoff team. I think for him to win this award, the Cardinals need to get a spot in the National League postseason, which I think they ultimately will. But a guy like Austin Riley, who's his next closest competition at plus 350, also having a great year. The Braves right now are in. So that's my only concern for Golden Goldie is the spot that the Cardinals do or do not get in the postseason. If they do qualify, I think Goldie is almost a lock as long as he keeps this production up, because he has been, you're right, awesome all season long. I have enjoyed watching that. Let's stay in big league baseball. One more. It has to do with the San Diego Padres, who, if you hadn't heard, acquired this Juan Soto kid who we're told is supposed to be a pretty gosh darn good hitter, a pretty good ball player. Their odds are now 10-1 to win the World Series. Before acquiring Soto, it was double that at 20-1. So odds to win it all at 10-1. What's your good word?
Pass. I know. Another Ivy League word for you to spell there, Tyler. But listen, as of right now with these additions, I still wonder if they're better than the Blue Jays or the Atlanta Braves. And to me, the Dodgers and the Mets, to me, are the two teams coming out of the National League that I do believe are going to represent and go against whomever the AL is going to present in the World Series. They've got work to do. They're 11.5 games behind the Dodgers. They're second in the National League in regard to the wild card spot, and they have the National League's fourth best ERA. Not the first, not the second, not the third. So for me, it's a small pass, not a hard pass, but a small pass.
All right, I'm with you. My word is also very Ivy League as well. It's silly. I think this is silly if you bet on the Padres now and didn't take the advice of our buddy Joe Fortenbaugh when before they acquired Juan Soto, it looked like they were the prohibitive front runner and they were sitting at 20-1. Even after acquiring Soto, I'm not sure they're better than the Dodgers or the Mets in the National League. Both of those offenses rank better by a significant margin over the Padres so far this season. So it's not like they have bad offenses. I know Soto will make theirs better and Tatis is coming, but I don't know if it's going to get them to the Dodgers, who have the best offense in the National League. And then the pitching. I mean, the pitching's the big difference. The Dodgers have a deep and awesome rotation, and the Mets have DeGrom and Scherzer as long as DeGrom stays healthy. That's the nastiest 1-2 combination that we've seen since Randy Johnson and Curt Schilling. So that, to me, is why it is silly to be wagering on the Padres at this price, because the value is gone, and I still don't think, even after acquiring Soto and Josh Bell, they are better than the Mets and the Dodgers as currently constructed. All right, that'll do it for the good word. How about we don't get a good, but a great guest to join us right now on Bet? We believe it's the first time that he is joining us. It is none other than Tim Kurkjian, ESPN, MLB insider and analyst. And not only is he joining us here on Bet, but this gentleman right here recently inducted, Anita, into the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, the Baseball Writers Association of America Career Excellence Award, not for just what he has done in his prodigious career, but for me and for you and for fans alike, his love and unbridled passion for the game of baseball is why he is deserving. So we tip a cap to you, Tim Kurkjian. Welcome to Bet, and congratulations on the recent induction.
Well, thanks very much, and good to be here.
All right, let's dive right in with the big news that you, Jeff Pass, and everyone here have been talking about since yesterday. Juan Soto dealt to the San Diego Padres. We now know that Soto will debut tonight against the Rockies and Chad Kuhl. So what are you expecting to see from Soto in this Padres lineup, not only tonight, but the rest of the season and for the Padres hopefully in October?
Well, I think he's the best hitter in the game, and I think he'll be an even better hitter with the Padres because he's going to have a lot more protection in that lineup. When Tatis Jr. comes back, and then Soto hits second, and Machado hits third, that's a pretty nice threesome to start with. And Josh Bell, who also came around in that deal, he'll add some protection behind Juan Soto in the order. I thought the Padres were 2 bats away from being a really good team. And they didn't just get 2 bats, they got the 2 best bats available, Juan Soto and Josh Bell. So once they get everyone in that lineup, they're going to be awfully good. They're not as good as the Braves, they're not as good as the Mets, and they're certainly not as good as the Dodgers. But they have a chance to be a very dangerous team in October now that they've added these two bats and Josh Hader to pitch the ninth inning.
All right, so let's look back before we look forward. And last year, the Atlanta Braves, as I like to call it, Tim, were active and attractive and aggressive, getting three major pieces to help them with their quest to win a World Series. Let's remove the Padres out of the equation. What's another team out there that you like, the moves that they've made heading into the second half of the season that you think are going to help them potentially win a World Series?
Well, I'm not sure there's a World Series team out there based on what happened at the trade deadline, of course, other than the Padres. I will say, however, the Phillies really improved themselves in the last few days. Noah Syndergaard is a really good pitcher still. He hasn't had a great year, but he's still got very good stuff. David Robertson added to that bullpen, gives them some real depth. Now they can close with three different guys. They've upgraded their defense. So I think what the Phillies did is going to get them in the playoffs. Maybe not for sure, but I just don't see any team that's going to come from nowhere based on the trade deadline and pass the Yankees and all those really good teams in the National League.
All right, Tim, let's move to the Bronx, where it's been fun if you're a Yankee fan watching Aaron Judge mash homers all season long. He is currently even money, which means if you bet $100, you profit $100 to break Roger Maris's franchise record for home runs in a season, sitting at 61. Bottom line, no matter how much you're wagering, Tim, do you think Judge breaks that record this season?
I do. He's on a pace for 68 right now, and I think he's going to end up with 62, and I think he's going to hit his 62nd home run in their final home game of the season on October the 2nd. I think that would be very symmetrical. Judge is swinging it better than he's ever in his entire career. Out of the All-Star break, he had 10 homers in his first 12 games. Albert Bell's the only other player hit 10 homers in the first 12 games after the break. He is so good right now. As Mark Teixeira said, told me years ago, and it goes more now than ever, everyone else is using a driver. Aaron Judge is using a 4-iron. That's how strong he is, and the ball is just flying out of the ballpark.
Absolutely. It's been fun to watch, and it was a pleasure to have you join us here on Bet, the pride of Walter Johnson High in Bethesda, Maryland. Maybe you'll get a Tim Kurkjian High in Maryland since you joined the big train in the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. We appreciate it, Tim, and look forward to watching your coverage throughout the rest of this big league season.
Thanks so much.
All right, Anita, it's now time to hop on to the fairways and greens. But before we start part 3, I want our viewers to know that there is some rather significant breaking news in the National Football League as it pertains to Deshaun Watson and the NFL's decision to appeal or not appeal the 6-game suspension that was adjudicated by Sue L. Robinson. So we will bring you that in just a second when we have some more. Oh, I guess we can talk about it right now. We'll bring it up. The league, Anita, if you hadn't heard while we were hosting, I've had the luxury of having a producer in my ear while Tim and you were chatting tell me that it is now been made official that the National Football League will appeal this decision. And based on what we know, the National Football League and Roger Goodell kind of have a final say on that appeal, which may seem like it doesn't make a lot of sense. But bottom line, from a wagering perspective here, does this change the way you're looking at the Cleveland Browns? Do you think it will end up a 6-game suspension, or do you think it will end up something more than 6 games after Roger Goodell appeals to himself?
I'll use the word shocked here. Of course, we had a bet show on Monday, and I told you I had spoken to a few people inside the NFLPA office, and they were expecting the NFL and Roger Goodell not to appeal because they just want this to go away and to not keep it active in the general public and in the media where we're talking about it right now. So I'll use the word shocked. And if this is the case, Tyler, I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being more than 6 games. If the NFL is going to continue to make this a topic, bad optics, obviously the NFL, the Shield, not looking good, but trying to, I would imagine, change that optic by being this aggressive. To me, I'm anticipating more games than 6.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think if the NFL has decided to appeal, it's for a reason. They don't think 6 is enough for their optics, for their PR, whatever the case may be. We shall see. We can speculate till we're blue in the face about that. But if my gut and intuition is right like yours, I think something more than 6 is coming for Deshaun Watson based on this decision that has now been enacted and engaged in by the National Football League. So we'll continue to monitor that situation, but that's the latest with Deshaun Watson and his discipline. All right, since we're on the gridiron, we might as well stay there, and we'll get to the fairways and greens a little bit later. Anita, hey, baby, we got our first football game of this season that we can wager on. It is a preseason game. It is a Hall of Fame game. Who cares? It's tomorrow night, 8 Eastern. It's the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Las Vegas Raiders. Got a total of 30.5, which is low even for a preseason game. And what is making it a little more interesting is the total hasn't moved, but the Raiders have gone from a 1-point favorite to a 2.5-point favorite. So a lot of steam on Las Vegas. Anita, how are you approaching handicapping tomorrow night's preseason kickoff?
Okay, let's preface by saying we're wagering on a preseason game. But with that being said, there's some background information here that I think could be very valuable for those who are. Josh McDaniels, this is homecoming for him. His father coached the Canton McKinley High School football team, took them 142-34, 142 wins, 34 losses on this field that he's going to be playing on. Also, Josh quarterback in high school on this field that he's going to be playing on. There is nostalgia here. There is a history here. The Raiders went to Canton early. They're touring around the Football Hall of Fame. This is a whole experience for this Raiders team. Meanwhile, Peterson, we've heard him what he said when he used to be the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. He likes to use the preseason games to kind of test the waters, put different position players in different situations. So it's not so much we got to win this game. I think this game means a lot more for Josh McDaniels than it does for Peterson. So I like the Raiders here, and also yeah. I like their quarterbacks. I like the depth. I like Nick Mullins. I like Stidham, who by the way was with Josh in New England. So I like the Raiders here. I like them a lot.
Yeah, I'm with you. I that's some great situational handicapping, as great as you can for a preseason game, noting that Josh McDaniels is an Ohio boy and that this is a place he's very familiar with and holds some kind of sentimental value, you would think, at the very least, to his father and himself. So I think that is if there is such thing as situational preseason handicapping, that is it. But I just look at the QB depth chart on both teams. We know Derek Carr and Trevor Lawrence aren't going to play. Nick Mullins and Jarrett Stidham are better than the quarterbacks, Jake Luton and etc., that Doug Peterson will roll out there. I think the Raiders have a deeper roster as well. If they weren't playing in that AFC West, we would like them a lot more, and if they were in the NFC East, for instance, we'd probably pick them to win that division, for crying out loud. But it's just the fact that they play in the AFC West. So ultimately, I do like the Raiders minus the 2.5. I hate the point move from 1 to 2.5, but you know, whatever. It's preseason football, win by a field goal, who cares? All right, Anita, let's consider, because Doug Peterson and Josh McDaniels are a couple of old faces in new places, some quarterbacks that are also old faces in new places. And we can start in that AFC West with Russell Wilson, a contemporary and now a division foe of Derek Carr and the Las Vegas Raiders. Here are some of the props that we're looking at for Russell Wilson this season. 4,125 passing yards, 32.5 touchdowns. To be the league leader in pass yards, 15-1. To an MVP, 16-1. I will note that yesterday there was a blow to his receiving core. Tim Patrick, big wide receiver, went down with a non-contact ACL injury, Anita, and it appears, by all accounts, he is going to be done for the season. So that's a big blow to Russell's pass-catching core. Ultimately, when looking at Russ in Denver now, any of those props or anything you want to play related to him?
It is a huge blow, but I still like his wide receiving core. I'm going to go over passing yards for him, especially since he's got a lot of talent there with great yards after the catch in Jerry Jeudy and Javonte Williams. I think he's going to be utilized in the passing game. Albert O, that's what I'm calling him because I can't pronounce his last name. Better offensive line, and with the coaching staff, head coach, offensive coordinator they're coming over from the Green Bay Packers. What did we hear in Seattle? Man, let Russ cook. Here's the thing, Tyler. I think they are going to let him cook at Mile High. So I like over passing yards.
Yeah, I definitely understand being bullish on the passing yards. I'm going to actually go to that 16-1 MVP ticket. One of the best values I think there is on the board. I'm not predicting that it's Russ. I actually think it's going to be another quarterback in this division. That's my favorite bet, Justin Herbert at 10-1. But I do see some value on Russ at 16-1. We know the narrative. He's never gotten an MVP vote for all he did in Seattle. And especially now with Tim Patrick getting hurt, let's say the Broncos reach their ceiling and win the AFC West. First year Russ is there. Head coach Nathaniel Hackett's also a first-year head coach. If they win the hardest division that we've ever seen in the history of the NFL, and Russ is healthy enough to play 15, 16, 17 games, I think the voters will look at that as the reason why. Denver was always a good enough team, but they had crummy quarterback play. Now you bring in Russ, he proves why he's an MVP. So at 16-1, I like that price for Russell Wilson. That's the one I would probably be most inclined to play in Denver. Let's move now to Indy, where Matt Ryan, for the first time in his career, is taking snaps for a team besides the Atlanta Falcons. You see the props there, 45-1 to win league MVP, something he did, I believe, in 2016. With Matty Ice now in Indy, anything you want to play?
Yeah, I'm going to go over passing yards here again as well. I think these are really low because you're looking at that wide receiving core and going, what's he working with? But I love Michael Pittman Jr. And don't sleep on these tight ends. Mo Alley Cox, and they drafted Jelani Woods. Wait until, man, defensive, strong safeties and linebackers who see these two dudes line up on the line of scrimmage at a two tight end set, they're not going to know what to do. So I do like the over. He's playing behind a better offensive line than he had in Atlanta. Also, as we know, one of the best running backs in the NFL. So the bar here is so low, Tyler, that I love the over here for Matt Ryan.
Yeah, I'm going to play an under with Matt Ryan, but it's under 11 and a half interceptions. Anita, Matt Ryan is far more careful with the football, at least to the naked eye, than Carson Wentz. And last year, Carson Wentz had just 7 interceptions in this Colts offense. 7, that's it. We think of Wentz as a guy who turns the ball over all the time. Frank Reich runs the football about as much as anyone in the NFL, so fewer pass attempts means fewer opportunities for interceptions. And then, of course, you have guys like Nyheim Hines, those tight ends that you can check down to if Michael Pittman and Paris Campbell and whatnot, or not, Alec Pierce are not open down the field. Good offensive line as well. I think an offensive line upgrade from what he had last season in Atlanta. Bottom line is, this is an offense that should allow Matt Ryan to take care of the football as good, as well, or better than Carson Wentz a season ago, when Wentz just had 7 interceptions and he played in all 17 games. Speaking of Carson Wentz, he of course is no longer in Indy. He has moved to the nation's capital, where he is the Washington Commander QB for 2022. There are some props with Wentz in DC. Anita, what stands out to you?
Yeah, I'm going under 22.5 passing touchdowns. I came across some really interesting stats for you, and I'm going to read them all, so follow me here. Wentz ranked dead last in accuracy in passing yards, 5 yards or less, okay, in his career. He's horrible on 3rd and 4th down. In the red zone, over 10% of Wentz's dropbacks results in a sack or an interception, 9th worst in the NFL. And oh, by the way, that's playing behind 2 very good offensive lines with the Eagles and the Colts. It's just all about mental mistakes for him. So I'm going under 22.5 touchdowns for Carson Wentz this season.
I'm going to go over for Wentz, Anita, in his passing yardage prop. You were just talking with Matty Ice in Indy how that's too low of a number. Well, Wentz is almost 200 yards short or shy of Matt Ryan. And he eclipsed this number last year in Indy. And Indy threw the ball 29 less times than the Washington Commanders did a season ago. He has Terry McLaurin, he has Curtis Samuel, he has pass-catching backs like J.D. McKissick, like Antonio Gibson, I should say. So I just think this number is too low for a guy who is going to, he may make his mistakes, but he's going to throw the ball more than he did a season ago, and he surpassed this number a season ago in Indy. So as long as he stays healthy, which I admit is always a caveat, and maybe especially more so with a guy like Wentz who's dealt with injury in his career, I just think 3,525 passing yards is too low in today's modern NFL when you have a number 1 receiver like Terry McLaurin and some of the pass-catching weapons that are there. Sure, he may turn the rock over a little bit, This number is just too low for me, assuming Wentz is able to play 16 or 17 games. All right, that'll wrap it up on the gridiron, but now, as promised, we had a little pivot in the middle of this show with that breaking news concerning Deshaun Watson and the NFL. Let's get back to the tee box, Anita, because tomorrow the Wyndham Championship tees off in North Carolina. Short par 70 course, Donald Ross design, back on the East Coast in North Carolina. You know the drill, my friend. 3 plays in the par 3 for the Wyndham. You're on the tee box. Put that peg in the ground.
All right, let's go with Sanjay M. I like him to win at 14-1. He was a runner-up here last year. He finished in the top 25 his last 3 starts on this track, so he loves this course. 2 weeks ago, he finished second to Tony Finau in the 3M, so you know he's coming in with his game on point, and he putts well on Bermuda grass. Number 2, my second play, might be my favorite, and that is Siwoo Kim to finish in the top 5. You get that at plus 550 right now. He dominates this course as well. His last 3 starts, he's finished in the top 5. Also, finished in the top 15 at the Rocket Mortgage and his previous tournament prior to the Rocket Mortgage. So again, another guy who's coming in with his game on point, and he goes low on this track. He shot a 60. Can you imagine Tyler shooting a 60, a 60, a 62, 6 times? He shot a 65 here. So I also like him to be at the top of the leaderboard after round 1. And last but not least, give me some Billy Horschel to finish in the top 10. Another guy, great track record on this course as well. Ranked 18th in driving accuracy, tied for 23rd in par 4 scoring. Those are your 2 most important metrics heading into this tournament. And we are close to the FedEx Cup Tour champion, right? The next 3 tournaments following this one. And he's on that line of demarcation where he could really be in contention to win the Tour championship. So he needs a good 4 days coming up.
Yeah, I love the Sungjae M, especially given his form, which is good recently, and then that history is so hard to ignore with a trio, back-to-back, top 5 finishes at Sedgefield Country Club in North Carolina. There's horses for courses when it comes to this event, and I have Siwoo Kim's little teaser in my daily fantasy lineup. I'll unveil on Daily Wager tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2, but my par 3 is going to start with Chesson Hadley. You know, the guy who has I can't do it, where you like kind of whip the tobacco can. I can't do that, but he does that when he sinks putts. He's long and wiry. I'm going top 40 for Hadley at plus 170. One of the metrics that I'm going to lean into heavily when handicapping this event, Anita, is players who putt extremely well on Bermuda grass, because Sedgefield is a place, even though it's tight, it's one of the easiest courses on the entire rotation in the tour to get on the green in regulation. Guys score here because they put the ball in the fairway and they put it on the greens. And whoever putts is generally who wins. Hadley is second in this field, I should say. Second in this field in putting on Bermuda grass. You get him at plus 170, basically just to, make the cut and finish inside the top 40. And he does have 3 top 10 finishes in his last 17 events, so he's in good form as of late. Speaking of good form, there's the Englishman Callum Tarran. Callum Tarran inside the top 40 as well is a plus 130 price, which I love for a guy who is 118th currently in the FedEx Cup standings. So he has motivation. With the FedEx starting next week, he's got to play well here to maintain his spot inside that top 125 that qualify. Oh yeah, and he's in good form. 3 straight top 25 finishes. If he does that for a 4th straight event, he cashes that ticket. And then there is Brendan Todd. Brendan Todd is a guy who excels on short par 70 courses. He is the number 1 ranked putter in this field on Bermuda grass. He hits fairways, he hits greens, an extraordinary putter, especially on this surface. So at plus 330, I'm going top 20 with Brendan Todd. Those are par 3s for the Wyndham at Sedgefield Country Club. And that'll do it for this Wednesday edition of Bet. Again, a big thank you to Tim Kurkjian for joining us, and congrats on the Hall of Fame. Speaking of which, Hall of Fame game kicks off tomorrow in Canton, Ohio in the NFL to kick off the preseason. And Anita, we will have, I guarantee you, a fun and jam-packed Daily Wager, ESPN2, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 Pacific, with this breaking news we were discussing concerning Deshaun Watson and the National Football League. Until then, we'll see you Monday. No bet on Friday. Everyone have a great weekend.